Today on People with Passion for Pets, we talk to Kat Bhat, a British videographer and YouTube creator who shares her adventures of living and traveling with her German Shepherd dog, Rocky. Hi, Kat. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Good to see you again.
Yeah.
Lovely to see you as well.
So, Kat, you are the person with the large dog, Rocky, that has the YouTube channel, Cat and Dog. And you do all kinds of fun things, not just traveling with dogs, which some of our viewers may already know you from a recent video that we had on our channel where you showed some of your trips and tips of traveling with Rocky. But you also do a bunch of other things on your channel. You want to talk a little bit about it?
Yes. It started just as a bit of a lockdown project, and I thought, we were traveling around UK a little bit, and I thought I would talk about traveling with a large breed dog because it was a little bit tricky logistically. But the channel actually grew from there. I realized that there is so much I can do with it. Like we chatted a little bit earlier, we can do so much to educate people, to prevent the dogs from ending up in shelters. All those little bits, whether it's talking about our life with the dogs and how hard it can be at times, or talking about training and inviting people like yourselves to share your knowledge and expertise with the viewers. It just helps tremendously. I think we had resource like that before we got Rocky. It would have been much easier for us as well.
And you're right about the education. That's really a good idea because a lot of people won't realize that their dogs grow into be 100-pound animals and stuff like that. So education is really a good idea, and it'll help people.
I think you're spot on with the 100 pounds animal. So when I picked him up, I kind of expected a little puppy that size, but what I got was like the size of a baby bear. I could not even pick him up. So
With all the fur, huh?
How old was Rocky when you first got him?
He was only 10 weeks, so he was still
Oh my
supposed to be
gosh.
small. In my head, honestly, I was picking up something like that. And then when I arrived and I could barely pick him up, it was tricky.
Wow.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, he's a beautiful dog and lots of hair. We used to actually have a German Shepherd as well. And the one thing I always remember is all the fur and, having to brush and
In the corner of the
vacuum.
house, there was always black fur everywhere.
There is fur everywhere, but we were prepared for it. Before we got a dog, we actually took care of other people's dogs just to kind of get an idea of what it's like to have one and to choose the right breed. And well, we thought we were prepared, but as I said, a lot of things still surprised us. But we had a German Shepherd for a while, and he was long coat. So we saw the hair in the house. We knew what we were getting ourselves into. We got one of those little robot hoovers. It's just that size, and you can let it run around on the carpet, and it does its job. So it makes it a little bit easier.
Right, yeah.
Well, that's nice. So you got a little robot that helps you vacuum. I still don't have one of those. That sounds like a good idea.
It's so useful. I mean, they won't do magic. It's not, it's not invincible. With Rocky's hair, we have to clean it quite a lot, but it still helps. Like just thinking about the amount of hoovering I would have to do myself, I think it helps.
So let's talk about your channel a little bit more. How long have you been posting on YouTube?
It's only been about 4 months. It's
Oh,
not
wow.
long at all, yeah. I think the first few months when Rocky was born, they were just too difficult. So only once we got a little bit of a handle on things, I was able to start actually properly filming him. And when I say properly, I'm still not doing it with my professional equipment. It's more just with the phone camera, just to kind of get the messages across.
So what kind of trips have you done with Rocky?
We traveled around UK. We were actually planning to drive for Christmas, but we had to cancel that. So we were going to drive from England to Poland for Christmas. It would have been a very, very long drive, but unfortunately with the lockdowns, that didn't happen. So the longest we've done, we're sort of going maybe 8 hours away to Wales. And that was amazing. There was a lot of logistics involved. I don't know if you've seen, I've got a video about everything that we pack in the car, and it's a fairly large car. Well, not like American cars, but for UK, it's a fairly large car. And it's just full. It's just everything that we need to bring for Rocky. It's just full to the brim.
Yeah, when we got our vehicles, we always look for a vehicle that has an extra seat just for the dogs that we know people won't sit in it, but we can put all the bedding and stuff back there for them. I know what you mean.
That's fair enough, but I don't think even extra seat is enough. He needs like a whole car for himself.
A pickup truck, that's what you need, with a camper shell.
I think so.
What was one of the biggest things that once you got Rocky, that you realized, oh, we really have to change this to make this work for him?
I guess we kind of thought that we could train him. Like we were watching a lot of sort of training videos. We were reading a lot about, training advice. We joined Facebook groups for German Shepherds and stuff. And we kind of thought that we would just mold him to, whatever we want. But actually, I realized that he does what he does and we have to deal with it. So all the kind of puppy biting, I mean, he is still not out of the woods. He is not as bad as when he was, 2 months old, but we still have crates around the house just to kind of make sure he doesn't pick things off the shelves and bite them. And it's okay. At least we managed to keep most of the furniture intact. And when I'm saying most, I mean most, not all of it. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that I realized was that we have to adjust to him quite a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah, I remember from some of your videos when you set up in a hotel room or a vacation rental that you put up the crates to kind of keep him contained, and that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's mainly to protect the furniture because he won't be contained on his own. He likes to have access to us and the rest of the room, but it's just to kind of stop him from grabbing things off. I think German Shepherds in particular are quite mouthy from what I've read and from what people told me. So they grow out of it eventually, but it just takes a while.
After a couple of couches and a few chairs, huh?
Sure. Well, one of the things that surprised us is the garden. We've got the garden at the back. I think you guys call it backyards. And and he would run out, go to the end, come back. And at the moment, it looks like there is no grass left. It's just like a muddy bath that he tramples and nothing can grow there. I mean, I did not expect that to happen.
Yeah, so he is patrolling the area, but probably, we have a yard and our Chesapeake Bay, he would walk the outside of our yard. Our yard is, pretty large. And so that's what he would do, is like, he basically had to patrol the area.
You would hope they can just do it walking. No, he has to run fast.
Well, he's built to run. I mean, he's such a gorgeous dog, and, being a shepherd, we're actually teaching our dog Apollo right now to walk on the treadmill, which might be something that you are interested in, because, it's one thing that we oftentimes find it's really hard to exercise these large dogs, and they have so much energy. So you have to find ways, whether or not it's, running them next to a bicycle or teaching them to walk on a treadmill.
That sounds really good. It did cross my mind at one point, but I didn't think it would be safe for them. Can you teach them to do it safely?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're going to go through a pretty good video of how to start them off with, different ways and stuff, but it's fairly easy to do, but we're going to have a good video on that. So you can try that out. Yeah. We're going to do both Heidi and Apollo.
Ooh. Well, count me in. I'm gonna look out for the premiere.
So what are some of the other things that you found were a little bit challenging that you might have not expected when traveling with such a large dog?
When traveling specifically, on the first nights, he can be quite vocal, and he couldn't sleep. So before he got used to it, he kind of not only kept us awake, but probably all the neighboring rooms as well. Luckily, they didn't tell us to leave and spend the night in the car. So we were okay, but we were worried. We're really worried. I think now he got used to it, so it doesn't happen anymore. But the first few times we traveled, yeah, he was just a little bit vocal and a little bit of a nuisance.
So it's fun, I know, for us too to share the doggy adventures, but I don't think a lot of people don't realize how much work is behind the scenes, right? Especially by trying to get a dog to cooperate and get some really nice shots. What do you, being the videographer, you obviously must have some tips and tricks you can share with us.
Well, it is much easier if it's not your own dog. So for me, the problem is that, first of all, I don't want to damage my professional equipment. So I hardly ever use it with Rocky. Well, because he is very unpredictable. He's very mouthy, as I said. And the professional equipment is quite expensive and quite delicate. So I usually just use my phone camera because I find it easier and safer. And the other thing is the timing as well. With videography, it's all about timing, and dogs are quite unpredictable. So it's better for you to have the camera at the ready, even if it's just your phone camera, rather than set things up and then the moment is gone. If you take photos, it's easier because you can stage them, you can take a few takes, it's just much easier. But video is this continuous movement, it's something happening, there has to be a story there. So if you want to set up your professional equipment, there's just not enough time for it. If it wasn't my dog, then that could be easier because I could have the owner collaborate with me and, have them handle the dog while I handle equipment. But handling both at the same time, especially with him being a puppy, I just have no patience for that. So my main tip would be, if it's your dog, invest in a good phone camera. That's what I've done. And, for what I'm doing with the cat and dog channel, that's enough.
Yeah, I find for us that once we started using a GoPro, I was so happy because my first videos, I would always log this. I had this big camera and this huge tripod, and we're on hikes and we're logging all this stuff, and then we're setting up like you're saying. So that's one of our things is we switched over to the GoPro, and that seems to really make a big difference for us.
GoPro is great. I mean, it's better at some things than others, so I do prefer the phone camera, but yeah, GoPro is great for some things. A really good one as well is this DG
the Pocket 2.
Yeah, exactly, Pocket 2. I blanked on the name now, but yes, Pocket 2. It's really small, really mobile, really easy to use. I use it quite a bit with Rocky as well.
Well, good. Do you plan your trips around the dog and the videos that you want to make, or do you find yourself just going on trips and then making videos as a byproduct? Which way do you go?
A little bit of both, I guess. So obviously we have to plan trips that are Rocky safe. So instead of, taking the flight somewhere to the Caribbean, well, maybe not Caribbean, but even to Europe, we would have to drive somewhere. So we would go to Wales or somewhere in England. And so that's kind of the main consideration. Where to go is dictated by Rocky already. Then in terms of the actual plans of the trip, we have to adjust the hikes to suit him. So before we had him, we would do things like Crib Goch, which is a very amazing sort of knife edge mountain range, which is very difficult and a little bit dangerous, but quite a nice challenge for people who love mountains. But obviously we can do it with the puppy. So we would have to find nice sort of low level and short walks that will suit him. So yeah, I guess we plan everything around the dog. I did not realize.
You're like, now that I talk about it, right, it's all about the dog. But it's so true, because that's what we found too, is once we started wanting to take our dogs, you realize how much goes into it. And that's why really we share it on our YouTube channel, because we realize there are so little resources out there that show people, you know, here's some things that you can do. So I think that that's just a great demand. And I think it's great that you do that over in the UK, because I'm sure it's just like here, people are like, where could I go with my dog?
Yeah, that's the thing. I end up looking at a lot of videos of the hikes in the area we are going to, just to check if they look suitable. But if people don't actually tell you what they are like, then there might be parts of it that they didn't film, and then you end up somewhere where you can't get through with the dog. Silly things, like when you are hiking, there are often styles that you have to get through. So there might be sort of a tall one. So I don't know if it's the same in US, but where there are fences in UK, there are sort of a very imaginative ways of getting through them or around them or over them that are designed for people, but they are there to stop the animals getting through. So some of them will have a hole for the dog, some of them will have a gate, some of them will turn around, some of them you have to get over, and it's easy for a person, but with a large dog, playing past a puppy with a 40-kilo German Shepherd is not really feasible.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I think I saw one in one of your videos, and I do remember those. You know, from Europe, being from Germany, we have them too. And I could see, you know, our dogs are a little bit smaller. So, you know, here in the US too, sometimes just recently we went to up an area where we were at Shoshone Falls in Idaho, and it was all grit. It was a metal grit. And, you know, with Heidi, it's easy. You could pick her up.
Yeah.
And Apollo, you know, too, I mean, he's 30 pounds, but, you know, in an event like that, if he didn't go up, which he did, he actually didn't mind, but you know, Jim could certainly carry him.
Just pick him up and carry him over. And he's really good too. When you pick him up, he goes, that's what we do. But,
Yeah.
and as far as planning, oops, sorry. And as far as planning your trip, that's exactly right, because we used to do vacation rentals, and then you would have to check with the vacation rental and see if they would allow dogs and how many dogs and how big, and then what was the surrounding area. We just decided, you know, getting an RV was just the best way to go, because we had our house on wheels. It's a little different in the UK because of the room, but that's what we did, is we just got an RV, and that solved a lot of the opportunities.
Fair enough. RV sounds nice, but they are not as convenient in UK, I guess, as they are in US.
Right. Yeah.
So other than travel videos, what are some of the other topics that you share on your YouTube channel?
I've got quite a few training videos. I'm not a trainer myself, but I'm speaking to experts like yourself to get some advice with the issues we are struggling with, or we feel that other owners are struggling with. I think that this education is really important, and I think that it's just it will prevent dogs from being given away, and you know, having sad endings like that. So I'm doing more and more of those. I've just done series on scent work, so it will be coming out soon. We were trying to find activities that help dogs get calmer. So Rocky, he's high on energy, so I thought like giving people advice on how to mentally stimulate them is quite important as well. I'm doing videos on just general sort of living with German Shepherd issues. So I will be talking more and more about what it's like to live with a dog, what issues we went through. I'm getting more comfortable with the camera myself, so it's taking me a while to get to the stage where I can talk comfortably on video as well. And I think the last one, the most recent series, is about different dog breeds, because I've realized that we didn't have much knowledge about various breeds when we were choosing. And yes, you can find the basic comparison on different websites, but it's not the same as actually seeing owners talking about their dogs and how is it to live with those specific breeds and what issues they are facing. So those are the kind of main areas that we cover.
Yeah, and you know, I think it's a great idea to share some of the things as a dog, from a dog owner's perspective. because it's different than from maybe a breeder perspective, right? A breeder may breed for certain conformation or temperament, whereas, you know, what we like to tell people is, you know, take a little bit more of a look at what is your lifestyle, and then, you know, what dog may fit your lifestyle.
Yeah, it's true. But sometimes I think you've got a bit of a confirmation bias and you don't realize, like when you see something written down, it doesn't really come across. So we've been reading a lot in the groups about the German Shepherds having a lot of energy, but because we met the adult dog, we could not really imagine how much energy the puppy would have. So we were kind of dismissive of it, thinking, oh no, we will handle it. It's like we are active people, we are active enough, it's gonna be okay. We are not that active. That's what we've realized.
Compared to a German Shepherd, no, you guys are couch potatoes.
True. Yeah, and it's not just the exercise. I was prepared for 1 hour walk in the morning and a bit in the evening, but it doesn't tire him out. It's the mental stimulation that really got us, like how much training they need, how much sort of different, well, like the scent work or anything like that, the mental stimulation they need.
That's why we push obedience so much, is because it's not so much a physical run down the street and run back, but it's where the dog has to concentrate on doing what you've asked them to do. And we'll do a 1 hour session and the dog will sleep the rest of the day just on that mental stimulation. And we might not have even left the driveway.
Well, it's so sweet. He makes me so proud now when we go to the park, and he listens so well. We used a lot of games when we were training him. So he's got his favorite toy. So as soon as we get in the park, he wants his toy. And then the second I call him, he comes just like that. And I can see owners struggling with their dogs and, you know, like trying to call them off. The second I call him, he comes back. But that's because now I spend at least half an hour in the park, literally just training the recall, training him to drop the toy, go and, you know, pick it up, then do something with it. And it just really works. And he loves it. He feels so excited and so happy every time the toy comes out.
And the good part is that works for pretty much any dog out there, is the mental stimulation. Is that's what domestic animals are. Domestic dogs is, what are we doing? You know, not what he's doing, but what are we doing as a team? And so when you give them a job or when you give them something to do, i.e. obedience, they just love it. It's you know, it's something you do together, and it's that mental stimulation. It's wonderful.
No, I was just going to say, it's incredible how much they enjoy being trained. It's just, you can see the joy in their eyes.
Yeah, they just love, you know, it's all about attention, right? I always like to say attention is like the best currency in the world. And when you start training your dog and you're interacting, that's what they want, right? And unfortunately, the opposite is true. When they don't get attention, they seek it. And that's where most of the unwanted behavior is coming from. Behavior issues are usually easily taken care of when we give attention to the dog, because they start to destroy things or, you know, run off with something that they shouldn't have because they're hoping that the owner will give them attention, and or jump or bark, right? So all those things are attention getters. But I was just thinking, you talking about scent work, and I wanted to ask you a little bit more about that. But I remember when we had our German Shepherd Rika, she used to play hide and seek, and that was her scent. You know, she loved it. You know, so she would actually play hide and seek, and that was the funniest thing. So you'd make her stay and you know, run and hide somewhere, and then she'd come and find you.
We actually do that with Rocky as well, but we kind of do it together. So we would ask him to go find mommy or go find daddy, and would run and find the other one.
Is really, really good, because as far as mental stimulation, it's quite strong, because they're trying to put that scent together. And in scent work, is what you're probably figuring out, is scents are actually high and low. And the dog can go, when we did police dogs and protection dogs, is we taught them high and low, because the dogs generally will just keep their nose to the ground, because that's where the tracking is. And when you put something up high, they'll go underneath of it a couple of times, but they won't look up, because they've never thought of, oh, I have to look up to see that. So in a lot of our tracking work, we would have boxes and we would get in trees and on top of houses. and you'll see the dog doing donuts underneath the tree, but they won't look into the tree. So that's very
Well,
cute.
Rocky seems to find everything we find everywhere we find it. So there is no sort of place too difficult for him. Because
Sure.
we've been doing it since he's a puppy, he kind of got very attuned to it now. I also realized when I was talking to the scent work professionals is that I've been using a little bit too much scent. So
Mhm.
it's been a little bit too easy for him. So I'm going to make it more difficult now. So we will see. So we would literally hide in the little forest across a massive field or different parts of the forest and then make him look for us, and he would just find the way.
Yeah,
And
it's
you can
fun.
also hide an object, right? That's taking it even further, because obviously a human, scent is the primary thing that a dog notices, its nose, eyes, ears. But so obviously you as a human have a lot more scent than if you just take, let's say, a glove or a hat
Exactly.
and then put that under some leaves behind a tree. So then obviously you don't want the handler be the same scent as
Right.
the thing. So you might take your husband's glove, but it's you telling the dog find, and then now he's looking for that. Talk a little bit again about your channel. Where can our viewers find you? Is it just on YouTube, or are you on the other social media sites as well?
It is mainly on YouTube, so it's called Kat and Dog, cat with a K, and that's our URL is Cat and Dogs with S at the end, just because Cat and Dog was already taken, or there were a few other channels, sadly. I've got a URL as well called catanddog.co.uk. So that will redirect you to our YouTube channel if you need to find it. I've got an account on Instagram and on TikTok as well, but I'm not very active there, so might not be worth following just now.
All right. Well, we'll be sure to share all of your social media links and YouTube link below the video. So if any of our viewers want to find you, they'll be right there for them.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. That was a lot of fun, and we certainly enjoy all of your videos on YouTube. So keep up the good work.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the information. And until next time, keep your paws on the road.